Right. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. I'm going to give us just a couple more minutes to help everyone give a moment to join, and then we're going to get started with something new. So thank you so much for joining us. All right, everybody. So we've given everybody a couple minutes to join. Looks like we have a good quorum here. So I'd like to go ahead and get started. So if I can have my wonderful speakers turn on their cameras so you're not just looking at me. So I'm Elisa Maloney. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing here at floLIVE, and I'm so pleased to share with you today this very different webinar that we're going to do, which means it will either go quite fabulously or quite horrifically. So let's see how it goes. Either way, we're going to have a lot of fun. So I'm here with our CEO, Nir Shalom from floLIVE. So it's a pleasure to be here today with you, Nir.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here.
Great. And then we also have Matt Hatton, one of the co-founders from Transforma Insights that I'm very excited to having joining us today.
Absolutely. Hello, delighted to be here.
Awesome. And then I'm going to do a sneaky introduction. So my manager, actually, Asaf Gigi, is also on the line. He's going to be moderating help from the back. So if you have any questions or you'd like to put in any questions throughout the webinar, feel free. He will be monitoring those and will be reading them for us at the end of the webinar today. So let's get going, because I'm sure you are ready to see what this is going to look like, as we are as well. So thank you for joining us for our 2024 predictions webinar. You see there's a QR code here in the corner, you're going to want to get out your cell phone, scan that code, because that's how you're going to be able to participate in this webinar. And I'll give you instructions as we go along. So scan that code, and then I'll give the instructions, like I said, and then there will be different types of questions that you can answer throughout. You can vote. You've got little emojis in the corners. If you're having fun, make sure you click those. And I'm going to start us off by turning it over to Nir. We're going to do a word from your sponsor moment here, and then we'll jump right in. So Nir, to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Elisa. And good to see you, Matt. So just before we go to the very entertaining and fun part of the webinar, just to give you a few words about floLIVE in case you're not familiar with the company. floLIVE is in the global connectivity business for things, for IoT. As you all know, we are already 160 employees in different parts of the world, headquartered in the UK, in London, with an office over there. We also have a local office in the US, in Texas, and a small team in China, which is doing great. We're basically working, and we'll show it in the next slide. We're working with many MNOs around the world. Some of them are providers for floLIVE, and some of them are customers of floLIVE. And maybe it's a good segue to explain a little bit more what we do. So we are building the world's first hyperlocal global network. Basically, it means that we are aiming to utilize or to leverage the advantages of local connections with local MNOs and local SIM cards, with the advantages of global connectivity platforms. And the way we do it is by basically integrating local point of presence in different parts of the world. You can see here on the slide the illustration of this point of presence. And each of these point of presence basically includes two things. Number one is integration with an MNO locally in these regions. And number two is a whole core network that allows local termination of the traffic to this network for compliance reasons, data security reasons, for performance reasons, security reasons, and all that. So in a way, we have our own local network in different parts of the world, in the US, in South America, in South Africa, multiple networks in Europe, etc. And now we've taken all these local point of presence, all these local networks that use obviously the MNO's radio access pieces with our core network, and we get them all connected to one another, and we built a layer on top of them. The layer includes three main components. The first one is an advanced connectivity management platform that allow our customers, whether it's MNO customers or MVNO customers or enterprise customers, let me say big enterprise customers, to manage the entire life cycle of their connections in our platform. The second piece is a SIM management that allows a multi-imsi EUICC capabilities for our customers to go and use. And the last one is real-time billing, but real-time of everything, real-time data consumption, rules and alarms, and all that. And in a way, what we've done is to streamline and simplify the availability of many MNOs we integrate with a single platform, a single SIM, a single API and user experience to go and manage everything in a consistent and simple way. And customers of us can come and can utilize either the entire platform, meaning take our SIM cards and just go and use it anywhere they want with local terminations, local breakouts around the world, or they can use parts of our solution. Some customers are only using our connectivity management platform and their own core network. Some customers are using the point of presence only for local termination, but their own IMSIs, etc. The modularity is an important piece here, but generally, it's a single platform where MNOs, MVNOs, and large enterprises meet together to consume and to use services from one another. If you go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about the high-level services that we offer out of this platform. So obviously, a core network as a service, the ability to get 2G to 5G narrowband IoT, CATM, core network over cloud. We all know that IoT is a very cost-sensitive business and industry. Being able to place a core network on the cloud and use the elasticity of the cloud providers to lower the costs and not build the cloud capacity or the network capacity to the peaks only, but let it be more elastic is important here. Obviously, the real-time nature of the platform, the ability to get everything in real time, including the billing components. I mentioned the SIM management, which basically means that on the same SIM card, not only a customer can use one of our dozen of IMSIs that we have, but also to play with the steering capabilities, with the specific tune-up of the IMSI usage towards the specific use case and locations of the customers. Connectivity management, as we discussed before. And the last piece is the ability to use all that also in a standard way, not only with UICC, but also with EUICC-based services. And you know that this is important because, for example, if you take services in Turkey and you want to do it in a compliant way, the only way to do it in a compliant fashion is to use EUICC cards and integrate with the local Turkish governmental institution that allows local profile download with their own SMSR. Just an example of why having EUICC capabilities as well as the multi-IMSI is a key here. So this is about floLIVE. We are very happy to have more than 100 customers, MNOs, MVNOs, enterprise customers, and we'll keep growing. Back to you, Elisa.
Great. Thank you so much, Nir. Okay, so it looks like we're ready to get started. So scan this QR code, and then you should on your screen be able to vote this little warm-up question to see if you're able to participate. Okay, good. Somebody's already figured it out. That's good. All right, let's see. You got a few more seconds here, and then we'll get moving. So hopefully it'll help you feel comfortable. All right, so we had some submissions. Look like we're still figuring out how to do this, but looks like we've got a good mix here, guys. It's not a ton of feedback to get going with, but I think it'll get us the direction we want to be. All right, so
it's
first,
a brand new technology to work with, Alyssa.
it
right?
is. Yes. All right. So for this particular submission, use your phone and you can type in any idea that you have here. I'm going to do it myself to make sure that it works because now I'm getting a little nervous. And you should be able to type in any sort of predictions that you thought were going to happen in this year, 2023. So that can, great. Okay, good. So it is working. That makes me feel much better. So we're going to collect your submissions. You can submit up to 3 ideas, and then we are going to vote on which one we thought was going to have the biggest impact. So we'll give everybody just a couple more minutes here.
All right, they're coming in thick and fast now.
That's good. Right. I can scroll down and read as they come in.
Quite a few on AI, some on regulatory stuff. All right, this is good.
But you'd like that one.
For sure.
Some eSIMs. Good, good. Give you all right, looks like we've give everybody just one more second here. And then we're going to vote. Okay, so everybody take a second here. Glance through your options. You should be able to see them on your screen on your phone as well. And we're going to move to voting. So now utilize your voting capabilities and let's see what the popular vote here. Do you all want to make any early bets?
We might have to do some sums as well, Alyssa. There's a couple of AI ones in there. We might need to tot some of these up and work out what the totals are, right?
It's true. Although you are asking me to do math this early in the day, we'll have to see how that goes.
Obviously,
right,
let's speak about AI.
Here we go. All right, there's an AI there. Okay, I'll count AI. Who wants to count eSIM? 5, 8, 10. Ooh, here we go.
Seems like it's fairly evenly split between EUICC and AI. EUICC of various forms. Someone in there about SGP, I assume 32 rather than 23, but maybe a typo in there. But yeah, interesting stuff. Well, we'll certainly have something to say about AI.
It's good. Is it what you expected?
Yeah, I think so. And in fact, as I get into my little bit, I'll be certainly talking about both of those. I mean, the thing with AI is you kind of can't talk about IoT without thinking about the next evolution on, right? Because IoT is about tracking and managing, and then the next step on from that is automating. And if you're going to automate, well, it's all about AI and how you handle the processing and data management associated with that, which then feeds into edge compute. So it's an inevitable kind of adjunct to IoT. And the EUICC stuff, well, new technology, another new technology coming in 2024. Well, sort of came in 2023 with the SGP 32, but coming in more effectively in 2024. Actually, in reality, so no surprises. That's top of agenda, not least because no one quite knows how commercially it's all going to work out. So, yeah, very interesting.
And Nir, any early thoughts before we?
Not surprising. I think that obviously AI is a very hot topic. EUICC is coming as a not new, but technology that is taking more and more ground in IoT, and we need to see how we look at it, and also the lines between consumer EUICC and M2M EUICC and the future plans to in a way converge between the two is something that also comes in mind and needs to be addressed. So definitely interesting topic that we'll touch upon a little bit later on.
That's good. All right. So Matt, for you, tell us a little bit about you.
Happy to do that. You've heard from me a little bit already, sticking my oar in on opinions on what you good folks have put up as the talking points for 2023 and 2024. I should introduce myself, Matt Hatton. I'm one of the founding partners at Transforma Insights. Very quick about us. Many of you will know me already, but we're a research consulting firm focused on predominantly IoT, but we also look at a bunch of other disruptive technologies that sit around the outside. And we help technology vendors and technology adopters with technical and commercial best practice. I think you can think of it as advising companies on go-to-market, on market sizing, market opportunity, all sorts of aspects of deployment and adoption of IoT and other technologies. And on the next slide, I've prepared just a very quick perspective on kind of where we are and where we're expecting 2024 to go in terms of IoT connectivity specifically. So I tend to find myself focusing predominantly this intersection of IoT and the connectivity world. I'm a telecoms guy, so that's the bit that tends to interest me a lot. 4 big themes, and the interesting thing is sometimes when we talk about what's going to happen next year, well, the reality is that actually it's kind of evolving themes that have been happening over the course of a decade and will continue to happen over the course of the subsequent decade. But actually what we're seeing is quite a lot of quite pronounced changes happening in some of these areas that will be quite significant for 2024. So starting in the top left-hand corner, the economics. The reason why we all do this stuff is to make money. And when you look at the economics around the provision of IoT connectivity, there's a lot of focused attention on the fact that you've got some falling revenue for connection, some challenging economics, shall we say, and that influences everything. That influences companies looking at efficient mechanisms for serving their customers, looking for alternative revenue sources. I'm thinking here of predominantly the connectivity providers. And they also focus a lot, and this is something that we're looking at a great deal right now and into 2024, on go-to-market and segmentation. You want to carve out niches, identify segments of the market to go after. So what we're seeing is a lot of companies focusing a lot of their attention on that, on channels to market. And we're interestingly seeing a kind of a bifurcation happening within IoT. There's a high-end, high data rate market, and then there's a sort of low-end sensor market, and those might be addressed in different ways. And then moving to top right, we've talked a little bit about technology already, and the same thing's true in 2024 there. We've got a set of technologies that are poised to do some interesting stuff in the space. Now, first one I note on there is thin IoT. That's a term that we come up with to talk about the set of technologies that are available to support IoT, which are great now, right? You've got operating systems and access technologies and various other pieces of middleware and software that are great for supporting IoT, and so that's fantastic. But at the same time, you've got a slightly confusing and overlapping and a whole load of other new technologies coming in. Things like, well, NB-IoT and LTE-M are there. You've got 5G and what might happen with 5G and network slicing and some of the capabilities from the standalone networks. You've got non-terrestrial networks. You've got, as mentioned earlier, the SGP32 standard within eSIM of eSIM that will actually start to become available as of next year, really, and a few other things around cloud and edge and how you stitch together all those various elements. So that's pretty interesting for 2024 to say the least. And then one that's even more pronounced, I think, moving to bottom right, for what's going to happen in 2024 is around regulation. That's much more of a binary state, and we're seeing, well, we've always had some regs that have applied in IoT, things like permanent roaming that Nir mentioned earlier, but a lot of security regulations coming in. But even more than that, things to do with data sovereignty, national autonomy are starting to have an impact and influence how organizations are architecting solutions for IoT, because we're moving into maybe rather more of a multipolar world as some regions start being rather more strict on how data is managed. So that's certainly a significant topic for next year. And then finally, around user demand, well, this is a topic that we come back to all the time in terms of, okay, well, what do the users want? Well, they've always historically been focused on things like security and pricing and coverage and so on. Okay, that's all fine. But what becomes increasingly apparent is that actually most end users really want something that's provided as a service. They want somebody to kind of hold their hand as they move through the process of deploying this stuff, because the use cases are getting more critical that are being deployed in IoT. We've done surveys that demonstrate that. And as a result of that, you have a whole load of companies that really don't have a lot of expertise and knowledge in this telecoms IoT space. And so they need help in navigating their way through that. And rather than just try to address it as a platform, something that's all singing, all dancing, horizontal, universally applicable, infinitely scalable platform, well, that approach doesn't prove, or hasn't proved to be wonderfully successful, as some of the exits of some of the big vendors in the space might have demonstrated. But what is evident is those companies that can help with that, understanding the space, contextualizing the services that are delivered, so that companies that are deploying IoT can understand what the capabilities might mean for them, becomes way more important. So again, another trend for 2024. There we go. That was my quick 5 minutes.
That was great. Thank you. All right. So next question. So be sure scan in that code if you haven't already, or if your phone went to sleep, wake it up and let's get going. So these should be ready. I'll unlock the submission, so you should be able to vote now, hopefully.
This is a question we get regularly, right? Which verticals do you feel will have the biggest growth? Let's take a look here.
Yeah, lots of good options here. You can pick 3 as a reminder. 3 is our magic number this webinar.
Very nice. Not one specific, right?
No, quite surprisingly so. I think a lot of diversity of views in there.
Actually, I don't think it's really surprising. When we see all the use cases coming in, we truly see all the different use cases, and we also know that some of these use cases do require some specific tune-up or specific care. But this is definitely a good representation of what we see from our customers as well.
Yeah, for sure. Now, healthcare. Well, maybe we shouldn't prejudge it. Are we locked now? Have we stopped people responding before? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so healthcare coming out on top. I mean, so many great use cases, and I think it's almost inevitable, particularly in the US. I think we see so much use of IoT for various immediate, obviously valuable use cases around patient tracking and I don't know, pill dispensers and assisted living solutions, and you might even include in there some sort of personal healthcare devices. I don't know whether that counts as a healthcare device. Maybe it does, but there's some obvious use cases. Perhaps agriculture coming out that high near might be a little bit of surprise. Now we track some fantastic use cases in there, and there's clearly a big focus on making more efficient use of resources, particularly water, but also power. It's a low margin business, and so anything that can save resources is clearly of benefit. So very interesting stuff coming through on that one.
Yeah, definitely. I would just add to that two things. First of all, about healthcare. Healthcare will take a further step towards the compliance and data issues down the stream. When customers would like to deploy healthcare solutions around the world, and we hear it from our customers already, the requirement is very simple. We would like to have a global platform, but the healthcare devices we sell in the US, as an example, the data should reside in the US and should come out from network point of presence in the US. And the data in Europe should be staying in Europe, etc. And I'm sorry, now comes the question on, should we, as a customer that needs to basically deliver healthcare use cases, do we need to go and buy local SIM cards in different countries because of the data privacy questions? Or can we still utilize a global platform that can still adhere with these regulations and can still make sure that data is stayed within the region, within the country of service? This is, I think, something that is going to become more and more important. This is the connection between this use case and the compliance item that came before. On the agriculture, we definitely see many use cases about water irrigation systems. We have more than one. Water management more broadly, as you mentioned before, Matt. And I think it also becomes a driver for developing the IoT infrastructure in not only in mainland Europe and in the US. We see use cases that are going to Africa and India and China and some other places around the world where companies are selling agriculture systems and now require global connectivity to go and serve these. So this use case specifically is going very, very, very globally and broadly. So this is very interesting as well. By the way, the automotive use case is also interesting because it is also highlighting two things. One is the need for data privacy, as we discussed before, because user location or driver location is a GDPR compliant data piece, and also because automotive adds one more requirement to what we discussed before, which is performance. Some automotive use cases do require that the network behaves in the same way from a response time, uplink, downlink, latency perspective in different parts of the world. And obviously that could be a challenge for, let's call it roaming only based solutions of IoT. So this one brings in another thing that we need to look at. So, between global coverage, between local breakouts and local data protection and performance, we are starting to basically see the borders of the requirements we need to deliver for these use cases.
Yeah, completely. I think we would always say that, what's the number one use case for IoT? Well, it's probably automotive in terms of volumes, in terms of the revenue generated, in terms of the impact. But it's also probably the most demanding, should we say, from the companies that are deploying, in terms of their requirements around how the connectivity is provisioned, how it's architected, how it's supported, and so on. So always a challenging space to be in, but certainly an important one.
By the way, just last comment, one use case that is not here, and from a technical perspective is probably one of the more challenging one, is global tracking using low power connectivity, meaning a device that moves between different countries and uses CAT-M or narrowband IoT and wakes up twice or 3 times a day for 2-3 minutes to send and receive information. From a network perspective, is taking to the edge the ability to deliver a global consistent solution because of the restrictions we know exist globally on roaming for low power connectivity, and because of the still not very smooth transition between IMSIs, between UICC profiles and all that, specifically for devices that are not always connected. So it's not here. It's a very interesting use case, a very nice one to address on a global scale from a technical perspective as well. And there as well, there is some tune-up that needs to be made to make the experience smoother.
Absolutely. We could talk about this one all day, but
yeah,
I don't know whether we need to move on to another. Yeah, here we go.
Yes. All right. Yes. Next one. So thinking about your connectivity management platform options next year, what elements would you like to see more of? Which ones do you think are going to be important, impactful to your business, impactful to IoT overall? That's a little bit of a tongue twister. So you should be able to vote on this one as well, up to 3 times. I don't think there's any surprise on that first answer.
In very quick
Hot
on the, I need it to be cheap.
That's right. Hot out of the gate. Oh, but not the winner right now. Let's see how this goes. Okay.
Couple of leaders there.
Yeah. We got just a couple more seconds.
Very interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it? So it's more advanced features, I guess, is how you could think of it. Advanced features and kind of architecture, really. So that real-time visibility coming out as top scorers so far, but there's still time to vote. There we go. I think we're probably set. Real-time visibility, and I'd say the global consistency, regulations and compliance, and architecture flexibility. They're kind of all parts of a similar sort of story, right? Having an architecture that's appropriate for today's environment, which isn't necessarily, well, that's certainly more of a focus of attention now than it's ever been in the past, right? You might have something more to comment on the real-time visibility, Nir, than I do, but those other ones are very interesting to see around architecture, global consistency, and regs and compliance.
Well, let me just, first of all, it's really interesting to see it. I would think that the affordability would be higher on the list, but I think it shows one thing very clearly. It shows that more and more organizations do realize that in order to manage a fleet of devices going all around the world, it's not only about cost. It's also about the ability to really control the devices in a consistent way. Meaning, if I have devices connected in New York and in Beijing and in Frankfurt and in Botswana, basically I want to know that my network will behave more or less in the same way, and I can expect the same from my network. And if I'm applying some rules on the network, if I'm applying some specific behaviors on the network, I would like to make sure that it applies to everything that I'm doing. And this is why I cannot just go and buy plastic SIM cards in every country and pray for good. We need something that really can orchestrate the behavior globally. This is about global consistency, because I want to make sure that I don't need to care about connectivity. It will always behave well, and it always behaves the same. This is number one. The real-time visibility is critical because of the control element of the story. If you have 1 million devices all around the world, you cannot just let them be there without having controls to your operation. You would like to make sure that if one device is going out of the specific IMEI it should be attached to, or it's going outside the gale fence it should be at, or it sends more data than it sends, or receives less data than it receives, or doesn't work for 5 days in a row, or whatever. The only way to do it is to have real-time visibility that applies for a large amount of devices. Otherwise, you cannot really scale your IoT business. If you get the reports 2 months later and you then know that you have a fraud, or not even a fraud, devices not behaving, not connecting, not transmitting data, or something like that, it's not good enough. You want to know today, you want to know now that your 1 million SIMs around the world in 120 countries are behaving, performing, and if something gets wrong, you know about it. So that this one, plus the global consistency, basically talks about the need to build that global platform that can really get all the information in real time, and the controls for the customers to be able to control their large fleet very widely. So it's very interesting, but very, very nice to know that this is what the customer thinks.
Yeah, I think maybe a reflection of maturity and in a way, well, if you go back a few years and it was kind of Wild West, you stuck some SIMs out and maybe you hoped they'd report back in a meaningful way, and it was all very very best efforts and very telecoms like, right? So but maybe it's more moving in the direction of more IT like approach to things, rather than it just being a telco market. So learning from hyperscalers, learning from the experience of how IT services are delivered for that greater consistency, the architectural flexibility, and so on. Yeah.
No, definitely. Just one last word about the architecture flexibility, because this is a critical one as well. More and more countries, the regulators in the countries demand that, for example, the core networks will be on-premise. Now, if you think about it, or let's say in country, not on premise, if you think about it, there is in a way kind of a conflict between the need on one hand to keep the data for specifically of a specific MNO in country and place the local network in country, with the need to have a global view, global platform, global control, consistency globally. These two things are conflicting. And we need to deliver an architecture that can do both. On one hand, it can really place the networks in country, fully controlled by the MNOs or the MVNOs or large enterprises, compliant with the regulation posed by the regulators on one hand, but not to say, okay, if you need that, then we need to completely block it from the rest of the world, and now you have an island. No. We need to build an island that can be managed as an island, but to have the right regulated tunnels towards the global infrastructure to still allow global consistency and real-time visibility globally, with the regulation of putting a network in country. And that can be done. The architectures support that. And this is very interesting to see it's coming so high as well.
Yeah, and hence my reason for talking about regulation as one of my key themes for the coming year. That idea around data sovereignty, having to be able to operate in, I don't know, in the most extreme circumstances in a closed border situation. That is top of agenda for quite a lot of carriers, and indeed noted that kind of resilience of capabilities is noted by many enterprises who are adopting as well. So you can't avoid it, and it's a quite significant change from the way that things have been done up until now, where it's kind of been a global market. It becomes much more consideration of how you address specific local requirements, while also at the same time doing that in a way that also supports a global solution. So it's going to be a challenge, a significant challenge for 2024. Yeah,
that's true. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next question, and just as a time check for everybody, we're going to want to move just a little bit faster as we're sharing our thoughts, so we get through all of our fun activities here. All right, so this one is another voting opportunity. So grab your phone and share your thoughts on what you think is going to be the largest security risk and how you can address that as a company. More devices, more risk, right? So see the typing here.
Be interesting to see what people come up with for this one, as it's a free form.
It's
response.
true. When I tested this with my children, I got lots of creative answers, everything from, you know, guard dogs to robots. It was very exciting.
It's good stuff. Maybe we ought to listen to them.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah, thorough solution auditing, automated scanning, CV verification. Adam has clearly done some thinking about this.
I would say so. These answers may be long if they're taking this long to type them.
Yeah, we could be getting a few essays, couldn't we? That's and
That's
I don't think it's a one-word answer, right? But let's see what we get.
Yeah, interesting. I think, Matt, we can start referring to these. I don't know if you want to go first there.
Yeah, happy to. Okay, so look, thorough solution auditing, automated scanning, CV verification. Yeah, gain visibility, insights, and control into the entire data flow chain to identify vulnerabilities. There's a couple there. The top right hand two. I think we can kind of combine those two as taking a holistic view, right? It's secure by design is, I guess, the terminology that everybody uses. Think about the security throughout the development process, and maybe not layer it on after the event. So I think that's very interesting to see. AI and ML applied to security, certainly great for threat identification and resolution, acting much faster than people can. And then SIM card for authentication. Actually, that's an interesting one. IoT safe, I think, is what we're thinking about here, which is a technology that looks pretty interesting. Application of transport layer security from the SIM to wherever your data might end up residing. And I kind of go backwards and forwards on this one. It's sort of a why would you not do it kind of a technology. I suppose that's a question of cost as well, but I find that an intriguing one. And then there's some features, VPNs and public IP addresses, fixed IP addresses, and so on. So yeah, a few good ones in there.
Right, let's go to our voting. I think we gave everybody some time to submit. Near any thoughts?
Hopefully I haven't influenced people too much on which option to pick.
I would just say that I think that, while we're waiting for the voting results, I think we should be looking on three elements when we talk about security and IoT. The first one is, how do we make sure that the solution we are using is secure enough? The second is, can we use the existing methods of IoT to better protect, or cellular IoT to better protect our platforms? And the third one is how we integrate the security capabilities that we have within these platforms with our broader security tools in the organization, because specifically large organizations do not want to have a separate security controls for every platform they have. The first one really talks about the features and capabilities that each platform allows to protect the devices from the network side, meaning agentless or network-based security. And there, I think that exactly as it appears here in the results, it goes back to what we discussed before. The more controls we put in the platform, the more control that we put in the platform in a real-time fashion, the more tools and capabilities we give our customers to know exactly how the devices behave and where they're located and how they are being used, the higher security protection we provide to these devices. And these are the advantages that a global cellular network can deliver to our customers. All these features that are built in to give a broader view of what we have there. The second thing is cellular IoT can also be used as a mean for increasing the overall IoT setup security. I think someone mentioned here SIM card for authentication. This is very true. SIM card can be a very good mean of authentication. The attachment of IMEI and IMSI can be a very good mean to get a sense if something is wrong, meaning the platform itself can give indications on the security threat that are more broad than just the cellular connectivity piece itself. And the last one, and I think this is something that we all need to do as the service providers and the systems builders of this segment, is to make it easier for our customers to consume all the data that we get from our platforms. We have a lot of data in the platform, specifically if you control the core network element. And today we still need to improve on how we make that easy for the consumption of security systems that are already being used by our customers, so that the security view is holistic and they don't have like a silo of, this is the IoT connectivity security indicators, and this is something else data coming from. And these are the three things that we are looking at when we think about security for IoT.
Yeah, if I could throw in one other thing as well, it's interesting to see the comment about thorough solution auditing, and there was another similar comment as well in there. And actually, one of the things that we recommend is to just know what you have out there on your network, because doing device management for most enterprises for their mobile phones or even other laptops and so on, relatively consistent. But the proliferation of IoT devices means there's a whole lot of very diverse devices going onto networks, some of which will be sitting around seemingly unused for a very long time, and being aware of what all of those are critical thing. So there's certainly a job of work to be done there. And the comment about insufficient knowledge, I wonder whether they're referring to within the users, because certainly there's a skills gap. People, there's kind of within IoT, there's embedded developers who are familiar enough with the IT side of things, and the connectivity side of things are not that easy to come by, and therefore the security pieces that link together all of these various diverse technologies is not always the easiest to pull together. So yeah, challenging.
That's true.
I just saw one comment in the notes talking about the need for regular penetration testing. This is a very important point. Of course, I didn't refer to the fact that the service providers in this market, including the mobile network operators, I know I came from a big operator, as some of you know. There is a huge investment in protecting the networks, and cellular networks are in a way built or more naturally built to protect themselves than, for example, Wi-Fi networks. But nevertheless, we and I know that all our the other providers in the market invest a lot, including periodic, constant penetration testing on the platforms from different angles and different parts to protect the customer's devices. So definitely, I completely agree. And this is something very important.
That's good. All right, well, move us along here. All right, so which of the technologies listed below do you expect to see the most significant increase in adoption next year?
So it
Yes.
isn't necessarily which is going to be the most widely used, but which one's going to take off in 2024.
Yes.
I'm a telco guy, so this is the bread and butter for me. Okay, it's getting interesting. Few more seconds to vote.
I feel like I should do the lock in your vote from America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah.
All
Seems
right.
like we're locked.
Locked.
Okay, interpreting this. Well, satellite. I think there's a couple of things to note on that. Clearly, we've had some low Earth orbit satellite deployments. We've got the arrival of non-terrestrial network technology as part of the cellular standards from 3GPP as part of Release 17. And we're seeing increasingly the network operators and MVNOs looking at partnering up with satellite providers to offer satellite as kind of a hybrid solution to address maybe out of footprint spaces or as a backup for other forms of connectivity. So really interesting to see that up there. NB-IoT perhaps not super surprising. That's scoring quite high. It's tremendously useful and relatively cheap technology to be using. Also coming through Cat 1 BIS, which is benefits, I think, from the ability to just hook onto any LTE network and be a pretty cheap option for connecting globally. So sort of bridging the gap to 5G in some use cases. Not great for coverage, but pretty cheap and works in most countries. So interesting that. And then 5G new radio, well, proper full fat 5G. It's been difficult to realize the opportunities from that for the last few years. We've kind of had an incremental arrival of 5G with really non-standalone networks in most places, which really don't give much of the additional benefits of having 5G in terms of the network function exposure and network slicing and so on. Really, it's just been about a bit more bandwidth, but that I think is changing, and certainly a lot of companies looking at taking their learnings from maybe some private network deployments, but extending that out to being supported on the macro network. So there's some exciting times coming for new services and new capabilities there, although it's still a wide area networks. There's still some challenges with providing maybe the guaranteed levels of service and SLAs and so on, but it's certainly things are set to pick up. Nero, I don't know whether you had some thoughts on that one as well.
Just one addition. I agree with everything you said. Just one addition because of time. Satellite networks are not going to be used, I think, as a standalone solution because of cost, because of coverage, and because of latency. They are going to basically complement, at least in the first couple of years, they're going to complement gaps that the cellular networks have today. And this is why, we all know that complexity is one of the issues of the IoT generally and IoT connectivity specifically. And this is why it's important to think of satellite connectivity in a way as another IMSI, if you may, meaning as another mean for connecting the devices along with other profiles we have on the platforms, other connectivity options we have on the platform, but all the rest should remain the same. All the real-time controls we spoke about, all the billing capabilities, all the troubleshooting capabilities. If you basically now build something completely different for satellite, you need to handle something completely differently, and it adds more complexity. And this is why the approach we believe should be satellite is going to be, if you use operator A or B or C, think about satellite as operator D and use all the other elements of the platform exactly the same way for all these 4 operators and to make things really simple and use centralized only when you need it because of cost, latency, and coverage, and use cellular wherever you can use cellular. That's the only comment I would make here.
Yeah. I think there are others who might be looking at it as an alternative, but generally I agree. Yeah, it's a hybrid approach. Yeah.
Great. All right, let's talk a little bit more about 5G while we're close to the topic. So I think it's open. Okay, good. So are you or your customers currently using 5G new radio in deployment? Ooh. It's
We'll
quick.
want to move fairly briskly on this one, I suspect, but let's see if
Yes, I may have been overly ambitious with the number of questions I gave you all.
Or we might have been overly verbose in our answers. It's
for sure
that.
Well, the good news, I'll tease what's to come, is that we have a fabulous ebook that we'll be sharing shortly in the new year to talk more about these topics. So we'll be sure to get that out to everyone who has registered for this webinar. So even if we don't get through every single topic today, we will definitely cover it with lots of good insights in the new year.
And maybe, Alyssa, it's also an opportunity to say that if anyone would like to ask more questions, they can send it via a note here in the Q&A piece, and we are happy to come offline and address them for sure.
That's true.
Absolutely.
All right, I
While
think
it's
we're
still
locked.
open, maybe I talk about the no, we don't see demand for 5G. In large part, I think really the capabilities of 5G haven't been available up until now. So perhaps it's not super surprising that, you know, the benefits of getting a bit more bandwidth, which is really what 5G has been capable of up until now, is certainly on the macro network. Not surprising that people aren't seeing a huge amount more demand. Those ultra low latency communications capabilities, well, not available or no real proof points. So I think there's a way to go before we see those coming through.
Yeah, I would agree. Nir, any thoughts, or you want to roll
No,
on?
I think for the sake of time, I'll give you the microphone back, Lisa.
Okay. All right. So this is what will actually be powering connectivity in 2024. What we think that not the largest spike in new adoption, but what will be most used. Oh, I gave you only a touch of time on this one, so get your votes in.
Neck and neck between EUICC and multi-imsi and EUICC. All right. Well, I don't know. And another vote for multi-imsi. Standard roaming. Well, first off, new SIM's pretty new. I think probably there's not been an awful lot of exposure to that one, but it is interesting to see people still seeing life in the multi-imsi and standard roaming approaches, and it's not all going in the direction of EUICC, although it is clearly a constituent part of the majority of the responses. So,
yeah, I would just say one thing. If you take between multi-IMSI, EUICC, and the combination of the two, we have 8 answers versus 1 for standard roaming. It's not, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's a reflection of the fact that more and more large organizations, global organizations, do realize that the old roaming based solutions simply come short to supply some of the things that we discussed along this session. And we need to think a little bit differently. And definitely EUICC and multi-IMSI are two tools that we have at hand to address the regulation, the performance, the global consistency, the real-time capabilities. All these things are coming by the fact that we are utilizing local networks globally in the right way. I think this is a very important message to come out of this session, at least from my perspective.
Okay, well, that is great. So we literally have 1 minute left. So I think we're going to have to pull it to a close here. And thank you to everyone who has attended. I'm sorry we didn't get to every single question, but we will definitely follow up with any questions that you all have submitted. Thank you, Nir and Matt, for your time. And thank you, everyone who joined and participated. I think this was a lot more interesting to be able to hear your perspective as we continued and add color with our own thoughts. So I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any thoughts or anything that we can do better in the future. I'm happy to hear those. And thank you all so much and have a great holiday season. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the holidays. Bye-bye.